The family motto is never complain, never explain, but it's just a motto, and it doesn't really hold.
There's a lot of complaining and a lot of explaining.
Welcome to Ms. Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 revelations from Prince Harry's Spare.
They've shown absolutely no willingness to reconcile up until this point, and I'm not sure how honesty is burning bridges.
For this list, we'll be looking at the biggest and most surprising bombshells the Duke of Sussex dropped in his new memoir, Spare. Are you reading Prince Harry's book? Which reveal surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. Number 10. King Charles dubs Harry the Spare. The idea of the heir and the spare dates way back in royal circles and refers to the second-born's position should anything happen to the older sibling.
Yearning for a larger audience, are we, Bertie?
According to The Guardian, an excerpt from the book mentions that King Charles first used this word to describe his son on the day he was born. He supposedly thanked Diana for providing a spare and declared, quote, "My work is done."
I sit here now in front of you asking for a family, not an institution. I want a family.
You might have also heard endless rumors questioning Harry's paternity, with many speculating that his real father might be Princess Diana's former lover, Major James Hewitt. The prince writes that his father made unkind jabs about the rumors, often ending with, quote, "Who knows if I'm even your real father?" The prince commented that he found the joke, quote, "remarkably unfunny."
There's a lot to be discussed, and I really hope that they are willing to sit down and talk about it.
Number 9. How the prince learned about his mom. Prince Harry was just 12 years old when he tragically lost his mother in a car accident. He described how he and his brother had been sleeping at Balmoral Castle in Scotland when his father woke him up to break the awful news.
In the book you write, he says, "They tried, darling boy. I'm afraid she didn't make it." These phrases remain in my mind like darts in a board, you say.
He further says that the king, who typically struggles to show emotion, didn't hug him. He put a hand on his knee, though, and tried to reassure him it would be okay.
But after that, nothing was okay for a long time.
No, nothing was okay.
Harry divulged that he didn't cry as he was understandably in shock. Decades later, in 2022, he was en route to the UK to see the Queen, whose health had declined, but it was only after he'd landed that he says he learned about her passing via the BBC website.
His brother and uncles took a plane to see her.
I was not invited.
Number 8. His first time in a field. Well, this was the royal romping story we never thought we'd get. In his memoir, the prince shared how he got intimate for the first time in a field behind a pub when he was a teen.
While he was at Eton.
Either 16, he possibly was 16, could have been 17.
17.
It's in the year when he could have been one or the other.
He describes the, quote, inglorious episode with an older woman in more detail than we might have expected, sharing that she liked, quote, macho horses and treated him like a, quote, young stallion. He caps off the unexpected anecdote by saying, well, see for yourself.
When the act of darkness had been completed, he lay on his front and she smacked his bottom and sent him on his way.
The prince withheld the lady's identity, leading some to suspect that it may have been model and actress Liz Hurley, although she's already denied it. Still, Harry believed that his unsubtle behavior might have reached the palace since he was then visited by a bodyguard. But more on that later.
Just get it out, come on, let's atone now. Get it out.
Get it out.
Number 7. Meghan Markle upset Kate Middleton with a baby brain joke. In the book, Harry notes how when he first told his brother and sister-in-law about Meghan Markle, they responded that they were, quote, religious viewers of Suits.
You have been here for 5 years, and just because I outrank you does not mean I have the authority to command your services.
However, the Fab Four's honeymoon period was seemingly over by the time of Harry and Meghan's wedding in 2018. In one story, Harry shares how Meghan was left in tears after Kate insisted on Princess Charlotte's bridesmaid dress being remade just days before the wedding, although she later apologized. Another anecdote details how Prince William directed his finger towards Meghan's face and branded her, quote, rude after she made a joke about Kate forgetting a wedding detail which didn't land,
telling her that her, quote, rude comment was not appropriate in Britain. Meghan allegedly told William, quote, take your finger out of my face.
Middleton had recently given birth to their third child, Prince Louis, and was apparently hurt by Meghan's baby brain comment.
You talked about my hormones. We are not close enough for you to talk about my hormones.
Number 6. his experimental years.
I would never recommend people to do this recreationally.
The prince writes candidly about his experimentation with various substances in his late teens and early 20s, noting that he'd convinced himself that he'd be, quote, willing to try almost anything that would upset the established order.
You write in the book about psychedelics, ayahuasca, psilocybin, mushrooms.
His first experience was during a hunting trip, but although he confessed it was fun and didn't make him feel as happy as it seemed to make others, he tried it a few more times. A tabloid editor falsely alleged to have photo evidence of Harry's substance use and reported it to the palace. This was the real reason the bodyguard we mentioned earlier paid him a visit. The prince also describes a hallucinogenic trip in Friends alum Courtney Cox's home in Los Angeles.
They showed you something. What did they show you?
For me, they cleared the windscreen, the windshield, the misery of loss.
Number 5. He recreated his mom's accident.
I wanted to see whether it was possible, driving at the speed that Henry Paul was driving, that you could lose control of a car.
Losing a parent, especially when you're so young, is unimaginable, and understandably, it took Harry years to come to terms with it. He divulged that he'd contrived a narrative where his mom faked her death just to escape the limelight, and convinced himself she'd eventually call for him and his brother to join her.
How long did you believe that?
Years. Many, many years. And William and I talked about it as well. He had similar thoughts.
He writes that while in Paris for the Rugby World Cup semifinals in 2007, he convinced his driver to drive through the same tunnel at the same speed, which led to his mom's fatal accident. He added that he told the driver that if he ever told anyone about this, there'd be hell to pay. However, he's since admitted that it was, quote, a very bad idea.
Do you feel you have the answers that you need to have about what happened to your mom?
Truth be known, no. I don't think I do.
Number 4. The princes asked their father not to marry Camilla Parker Bowles. Prince Harry made several surprising comments about the Queen Consort in his book.
If you are led to believe, as a member of the family, that being on the front page, having positive headlines, positive stories written about you, is going to improve your reputation or increase the chances of you being accepted as monarch by the British public, then that's what you're going to do.
He claims that his brother was, quote, tormented by his knowledge of the, quote, third person in his parents' marriage. He also accuses his stepmother of leaking stories to the press to, quote, rehabilitate her image at their expense.
He accuses Camilla and even his father at times of using him or William to get better tabloid coverage for themselves.
However, arguably the most astonishing revelation is that he and Prince William apparently implored their father not to marry her. They didn't object to the relationship, they just didn't think it was a great idea for their dad to walk down the aisle with the, quote, other woman.
We didn't think it was necessary. We thought that it was going to cause more harm than good.
However, he confessed that he could see how happy they made each other, and Camilla didn't turn out to be the evil stepmom he'd worried she'd be. Number 3. Prince William and Kate Middleton encouraged him to wear that costume.
It's education, it's awareness, and it's a constant work in progress for everybody, including me.
You may remember seeing a photo of Prince Harry in an ill-advised costume making the rounds back in 2005. According to page 6, the prince addressed the scandal in his book, stating that he was debating between going as a pilot or a Nazi officer to a native and colonial-themed party.
Which is, strange in itself. But anyway, and he phoned up William and Kate and they were like, oh, yes, it'll be absolutely riotous. It'll be hilarious if you do this.
He claims that he opted for the latter at the encouragement of William and Kate, who, quote, howled with laughter when he showed them the costume. Harry, who was 20 years old at the time, apologized extensively following the son's initial expose and called it, quote, one of the biggest mistakes of my life in his 2022 Netflix docuseries. Apparently, Harry was upset not to have his brother's backing, which supposedly marked the first major blow to their relationship.
And yes, it does sort of chip away at the veneer and the image that William and Kate want to create, that clearly they may have some issues or something going on.
Number 2, a controversial boast about his army days. In one of his most contentious reveals, the prince seems to almost brag about his actions during his deployment in Afghanistan. He also boasts that since he outranked his brother in the army, William had to salute him in military situations.
But also, you know, comments about how this rivalry with his brother goes back to the very sort of early days when William always got given a bigger bed and a bigger bedroom than he had as well.
Anyway, the younger royal spent 10 years in the army, including 2 operational tours of Afghanistan. He revealed that during this time, he kept a record of how many enemies' lives he claimed, calling it a number that, quote, doesn't fill me with satisfaction, but nor does it embarrass me.
Those who I know have been in the military question why he would do that, why you would keep a tally.
These comments received plenty of backlash, including from the UK's army, who called Harry's words distasteful and raised concerns that he could put many lives, including his own, at risk.
And particularly his comments about how they don't regard, you know, their enemy fighters as being human beings even. So I think this will incite some people to maybe attempt an attack against British soldiers.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. A physical altercation with Prince William.
It was a build-up of frustration, I think, on his part.
In one surprisingly explosive detail, Prince Harry describes how an argument with his brother over Meghan turned physical. He said that in 2019, Prince William visited his Nottingham cottage home and confronted him about his wife's allegedly difficult, rude, and abrasive behavior, to which he replied that his brother was just echoing the media's narrative.
He was shouting at me, I was shouting back at him. It wasn't nice, it wasn't pleasant at all, and he snapped.
He claims that as things got more heated, William suddenly grabbed him by his shirt collar and knocked him to the ground, where he landed on a dog bowl that broke and left cuts on his back. After the initial shock, he got up and told his brother to get out. He also asserts that William urged him to hit him in return, but Harry refused.
Do you speak to William now? Do you text?
Currently, no.
Check out this other recent clip from Ms. Mojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.